All right. Happy Friday, everybody. Big waves to you. Good to see you. Yes, yes, yes. I'll go both hands. Good to see everybody. So, first of all, I got to say this. Just again, big shout out to so many of you. Andrea, if my service, is it okay? Okay. Um, Big shout outs to you for what you're doing. So many of you, I see you on social media. You're making an impact out there. Keep it up. Keep it up. And so many of you, I love celebrating your success in your occupation, your business, and what you're doing. So keep that up too. I see it happening. I see it happening. And so congrats and thanks for being a part of our community. Today, the word is future. Let me ask you a question. Well, if the definition of future is that it is to be, or time yet to come, where do you see yourself in 5 years? What does the 5-year-old Alan White look like? 5 years older than today, right? What does the 5 years from now Andrea Rosser look like? What about it, Madeline? 5 years from now, what are you going to be doing? Where are you going to be at? Because the good Lord willing, in 5 years, we're going to be around, and it's what are we going to be doing? And I've come across, looking at the word future, so many great quotes and things to talk about, but Peter Drucker said the best way to predict the future is to create it. The best way to predict it is to create it. And then I went to our old buddy, Jim Rohn. And I started looking at Jim Rohn today, and just what does Jim Rohn say about future? Well, here's what he says. The major key to your better future over the next 5 years is you. It's you. That's the major key. You are the major key that unlocks that door. And one of the things that he talked about, and I read this, and I want to share it with you this morning. He said, of all the things that can have an effect on your future over the next 5 years, I believe personal growth is the greatest. What are you feeding your mind? We can talk about sales growth. We can talk about profit growth. We can talk about asset growth. But all of this probably will not happen without personal growth. It's the open door to it all. And that's from Jim Rohn in a speech he gave that I listened to and went back and wrote the words down. The key that opens the door to it all is us. It's our personal growth. And I'm reminded of that a lot when I'm going through tough times in my life. Usually when I go through tough times, I dig in to more personal growth. I dig in to feeding my mind more. Somebody said one time, they said, you kind of forget about praying until tough times hit. And then you become an avid prayer, right? How many of you would agree to that, right? You pray more when things are a little bit rocky. Well, to me, when things are a little bit rocky, I also really dive into personal growth. And to see Jim Rohn and hear Jim Rohn say that is really the major key to your future. Where do you want to be in the next 5 years? Nothing we can change, nothing we can do can change the past. It just is what it is. Last 2 years, last 5 years, last 10 years, can't change it. It is what it is. But everything we do changes the future. What decisions are we making right now? Where are we going to be? Who are we going to surround ourselves with? That's going to predict the next 5 years. And one thing that I pull to is the fact that 1/3, here's a fact, 1/3 of Americans are dissatisfied with the future facing themselves and their family, according to a Gallup survey recently done. 1/3 of Americans. And even the ones that are among the satisfied, their optimism about the future is the lowest it's been in 40 to 50 years. So there's a lot of people out there that's going through those valleys that need to hear, like, they need their arm grabbed, they need to be locked on, they need to be a part of a community. The good news is me and you can create our own future. And I'll give you an example of this and then turn it to Andrea. Sales. See, everybody's like you get in sales and it's so funny. It's like, timing is everything. Timing is really good. Like you get in something, timing's right. Like there could be really a lot to happen with that. But at the end of the day, if you're in sales, how many of you's in sales? Maybe raise your hand or put it in the comments, right? I think everybody's in sales. When I was an educator, I was in sales. I was selling my school. I think everybody's selling a product or a service. They just don't know it. But in sales, we can talk about growth, we can talk about profits, we can talk about all this stuff, but what if we really learn the art of sales? Do you think this world will ever be without something to sell? Heck no. There's always going to be something to sell, a product, a service. So if you learn how to sell, guess what? You're never going to go hungry. You're never going to wonder, oh my goodness, I need to make some more money. Well, guess what? Go use your art and your skill more. And I just got to thinking about that. And I thought sales is a great example of, it is really one of those things. If you learn the art, you control your destiny. You control your destiny, but it takes learning. It takes personal growth. It takes stepping out, being more than you are to learn that art. But once you do, you'll never go hungry, because there's always going to be something out there to sell. So, Andrea Rosser, that was my thoughts this morning with future. I'm excited about my future. I hope you are yours. So I'll turn it to you.
Well, thank you so much, Coach. That was a great lesson. And this was a really great one for me as well. So the quote that I loved was, I'm more interested in the future than the past, because the future is where I intend to live. And that's Albert Einstein. And I think sometimes I can be guilty of getting caught up in the past, what has happened, and, ruminating thoughts, and, that anybody else play the game of woulda, shoulda, right? Like, better. So you think of all the things that you would have done differently in the past. But like, that's good to learn the lessons, but it doesn't get us very far, right? Like, we've got to start right here and look towards. So what I'm going to talk about today, and what I looked into, was what can we do right now to create the future that we want, right? What action can Andrea Rosser take to make tomorrow look closer to my ideal future, right? So first of all, I've got to make friends with uncertainty and change. Like, the only constant in life is that there are very few constants. Things are always changing, from new technology to, political makeup to, just businesses changing the whole way that we're used to doing things. Like, I think about Zoom, right? Like, did that not change so much of what we're used to? Like, the main constant is that things are going to change. So the most effective way to manage change successfully is to be a part of the thing creating it. So this requires us to look at change as something that is an opportunity and not a threat. And I can tell you, I love my ruts. Like, I'm a rut person. I think ruts are great. I like my little habits. I like, keeping things the same. So sometimes change can really throw me through a loop. So I have to be able to identify change, and work a little bit more with going with the flow. And one of the ways that I can do that is to look around in my life and look at the people that are super adaptable. We all know those people. Like when their business model changes, they land on their feet. When they move across the country, they thrive. Like they just go from change to change and they really thrive. Look at the people in your life that are like that and see how you can learn from them, right? See what tips of things that they're doing that you can pull into your life and do more like it. Number two leans right into what Coach was saying, and that's to practice relentless self-development. So, the best way we can improve our future is to improve ourselves. And how do we do that? Well, we've got to develop, we've got to learn, we've got to diversify our interests, we've got to remain relevant in this changing world, develop that personal brand, maintain a bigger outlook, and then create work that benefits others. Kind of when Coach talks about his dash, he talks a lot about, he wants people to say, that person helped me in some way. And how can we help more people? Well, by becoming more knowledgeable, more relevant ourselves. Next one is remove and improve. So if you kind of think about your day and you think about your life, there's things that we do that are just habits. Like it's just because of that rut that I've gotten myself into, but those habits don't necessarily serve me. So kind of look at your day and ask yourself, is this particular thing that I do, every morning? Is this particular part of my afternoon? Is this particular, person, whatever, if this thing wasn't here right now, like if I wasn't already doing this, would I add it into my life today? Or would I say, I probably don't need to do that, right? If you wouldn't start it today, if it doesn't serve you right this moment and you don't think it's going to serve you moving forward, well, then find a way to get rid of that extra activity or get rid of that thing that's not serving you, and then replace it with something that serves you better. And then lastly, determine your goals. And I'm not just talking work, right? Think about, 80-year-old, Eva Marie, and you're sitting on that porch swing and you're, enjoying your family. Who do you want to be sitting next to you? Who do you want to be? What do you want to be in that dash? What do you want to put into your life, and what do you want to get out of it? And so what do you want to be remembered for? Like all of that. And once you come up with those answers to those big questions, set some goals around all of them. Like we don't control all of it. Like my thing is I really want grandbabies, right? Like I don't get to pick that. I don't get to decide when they come. Hopefully it takes a little time, but I want them, right? And I want to be like that grandma that is like in the thick of things, that's at the games and there when babies are born and helpful. Well, in order for me to be that for that next generation, I've got to be really focused on my kids now and feeding them what they want, not, well, maybe literally, but giving them, the attention and, creating that connection and all of that right there, so that we have that relationship for the next group, so that they say, sure, mom, you can come on over and be with these babies, right? So just kind of come up with the goals for today that will get us where we want to be in the future. So that was a little bit of a tangent right there about those grandbabies, but hopefully you guys got the point. But love you guys. Fun to spend the Friday morning with you. Can't wait to see y'all next week.
Andrea, great. A lot of great thoughts right there. Guys, we love you. We appreciate you. Have a blessed weekend. Go out there and rock it this weekend. Have a lot of fun. We'll see you back on Monday. We really appreciate you guys.